I will not tolerate this kind of behavior in any agency, but especially in the IRS, given the power that it has and the reach that it has in all of our lives. And as I said earlier, it should not matter what political stripe you're from. The fact of the matter is that the IRS has to operate with absolute integrity. Today, Secretary Liu took the first step by requesting and accepting the resignation of the acting commissioner of the IRS. Because given the controversy surrounding this audit, it's important to institute new leadership that can help restore confidence going forward.
That was President Obama expressing his outrage yesterday over the discovery that agents from the Internal Revenue Service inappropriately targeted conservative political groups. Good morning and welcome to the News Hub. I'm Michael Casey. Jabborn Hughes joins us from Washington with more on a swirling controversy that has already claimed the resignation, as you just heard, of acting IRS Chief Stephen Miller. Good morning, Jabborn.
Good morning.
So, Jabborn, President Obama seemed angry, but Republican congressmen are perhaps even angrier, which means this scandal is likely to have some legs. Where does it go next?
It is not going away, just like you said. We're going to have a whole bunch of hearings. Tomorrow, we're going to hear in person from Acting Commissioner Stephen Miller. He testifies before the House Ways and Means Committee. Next week, we get 2 more hearings. We don't know who's testifying in the Senate Finance Committee, but a separate House panel is going to be hearing for the first time from Lois Lerner. She was the director of the tax-exempt organizations unit. She was the person who revealed last week that this was happening. Also, Doug Shulman, the former IRS commissioner. And these people are all going to get a grilling from Republicans who, as you say, are irate.
And on top of that, Attorney General Eric Holder has launched a criminal investigation. Tell us a little bit about that, or what we do or don't know about it.
We got some more details yesterday. In a separate hearing, Mr. Holder said he might be looking at 2 things. One were criminal violations of the civil rights statutes, and then perhaps, which resonates more with the Republicans, whether or not there were any false statement violations. Republicans feel that they were lied to. They've been asking for years whether the IRS was targeting conservative groups, and every time they asked, they got back very plain vanilla answers about how the IRS just had procedures to go through. As we know now, these were not normal procedures, and Republicans want to know why that was withheld from them.
And clearly they are out for blood. We had Congressman Boehner, John Boehner, yesterday saying that he wants to know who's going to jail. What is the mood amongst Republicans at this stage?
Republicans are furious, but at the same time, Republicans feel that this is an issue that encapsulates all of the suspicions they've had about Mr. Obama over the years. They feel he's political. They feel they've been given a lot of half answers. They feel the government is overreaching. The government is intrusive in people's lives. And this is the narrative. This is the story that actually gives meat to their suspicions and their claims. And that's part of the reason why this has legs, as you say.
Now, Stephen Miller, a very quick, it seems, or at least once the scandal broke, victim. Did he know things before this? I mean, why was he targeted so quickly?
Mr. Miller was attacked very quickly because he's the top guy at the IRS. He hasn't said exactly what he knew or when he knew it. The Inspector General report that came out didn't really mention him by name, but the assumption is that because he was the top guy and because he was being asked some very direct questions by Republicans, he was in a position to know. If he didn't know, why didn't he ask? These are some of the questions Republicans would have.
Now, the real issue here is that there seems to have been a bias in the targeting of groups that were clearly of a particularly conservative bent in their political actions. But one of the issues that might arise out of this is the whole question about whether political groups, whether they're liberal or conservative or otherwise, should indeed be getting tax-exempt status. Is that likely to come up through this process?
It is likely to come up. I've talked to some Democrats who say that there are actually 2 scandals. One is that conservatives were targeted, but another is that the IRS, they feel, didn't do enough to rein in some of these so-called social welfare groups that may not actually have qualified for this nonprofit status. The issue with a 501c4, which is what we're really talking about here, is that you can engage in a certain amount of political or campaign activity so long as that is not your primary activity. Determining if that is your primary activity can be a really tricky issue. It can be a gray area, and no real clear rules were ever issued. So that's part of what's at play here.
Yeah, so ultimately it seems that the problem here may be so much the bias toward one side rather than the fact that the IRS was indeed asking these questions. Is that a fair question?
It's a fair way to look at it. The one issue is that when the Inspector General went and looked at the pool of applicants that were trying to get 501c4 status, based on a statistical sample, if you had Tea Party, Patriot, or 912 in your name, you were 100% likely to get steered into this special time-consuming process. And the same can't be said of other groups. So the overall issue of whether or not a group was too political is a fair one, but at the same time, the conservatives really were targeted.
All right, thanks very much for your time, Shawn.